Thank you, President Johnson and trustees. We're pleased to bring an update this evening just to round out the information that we're sharing, as is our usual pattern. We will share this information following board discussion with our families and with our staff and community. I want to start out just giving a shout out to our administrative professionals today. Today is Administrative Professionals Day, and I know that you all want to join me in recognizing our office professionals, our administrative professionals, for their valued contributions in service to our children, our families, our schools, and community. The office professional is often the first person that everyone turns to each day with a question, concern, with a need. It's often the first face that we see when we enter a school building. Just want to share to all of our office professionals out there that your smile, your constant presence, and responsiveness are the critical connection and reassurance for students and staff, parents, and community. So we sent them a note today, but I just wanted to give a shout out this evening at our board meeting. And certainly the board's administrative assistant, Ms. Amy Osensky, and our own support administrative professional, Ms. Karen Soderberg, who really keep the wheels on the bus going round. So thank you. We'll begin the superintendent's update, the content of it, with a statement about spring assessments. We've been receiving a lot of questions about this, and I really want to share my appreciation with Ms. Linden and the teaching and learning team, as well with all of our principals and our teachers. We do understand that when we make a shift or we make change, that it causes a lot of work for folks. And yet we felt it was important to really come out this spring and during our reentry to in-school hybrid learning time to be able to focus on reconnecting and restoring for those students and families who are ready to be in school. And we didn't want this spring to be characterized by a rush to state assessments. You may be aware that the state of Michigan's request for a waiver from the federal education department has been denied, and yet the Michigan Department of Education and the State Board of Education have allowed that the district will not be held to the 95% participation rate this spring. So we want to just share that as a result of this COVID pandemic year and as a result of the steps, although not a full waiver like we had last year, but as a result of the steps that our State Department of Education has taken, that we will implement a different approach this year, and that is an opt-in approach to state assessments this spring. I want to be clear that this shift is around recognizing our need for students, teachers, and families to connect and not to be distracted with the burden of assessments. So the focus of our teachers and teams really must be around teaching and learning, both for those in-person and virtual. And we want to minimize disruptions to that very critical instructional time. So we know that state assessments are not necessary to complete a fruitful observation of students. I've always said and believe to my core that the most valuable data that we have on children is the professional and masterful observation of a master classroom teacher. And so we will, I want to be clear, continue with student supports and customizing those supports, interventions, and extensions for learning. All of that work continues. But we will not be administering to every child, as we normally are required to do, the spring Michigan Department of Education assessments. So just to clarify, these are around at elementary and in various grades. These are around M-STEP and PSAT, SAT, and work keys, and those kind of assessments. Parents, if they choose to have their students assessed, we certainly will follow through on that. We're ready and prepared to do that. And I want to remind everyone that these tests are not and have never been connected to class placement or to any student support. They've never been the only piece of data that we use to customize student supports. So for our systems data, just a reminder, trustees, that the legislative package last late summer required our use of NWEA to be posted publicly and shared with our community. More importantly, that feedback given to our parents. That assessment continues in the spring as planned, because we are obligated to do that, and we do want to get that data. That is kindergarten through 8th grade. But the other state assessments will be an opt-in. So how that will work is that grades 9 through 12 have test dates next week, April 27th through 29th. I do want to point out that the SAT also offers another date on May 18th. So we are allowed by the College Board to also offer SAT on May 18th. I'd received quite a few emails from parents concerned that if students didn't feel comfortable coming into the building next week, what would be the other date? And that we will be sharing in an email out to our families. Elementary and middle school students will hear directly from their principals and teachers regarding the schedule so that they know what to expect. It is important to note that the M-STEP and other assessments are not allowed to be completed virtually. So unfortunately, or at any rate, we're not able to offer those remotely. So I just want to clarify that. If parents choose to opt into our spring assessments, just a reminder that we will use our COVID mitigation strategies as we do every day at school. And we know what all of those are, but we'll review them in the communication coming out. So the next step is that parents should look for and anticipate a communication directly from their school principal that will have a link for a parent to raise their hand on behalf of their child or children to opt in to spring assessments. Otherwise, I want to be clear with all of our parents, otherwise there is no action needed. And we will proceed with our spring accordingly and spending our time in teaching and learning with students. We've looked at our spring assessment plan. Thank you, trustees, for your support on that. I believe it takes a great heavy weight off of students and staff and really makes this return about what it should be about. Let's look at some next steps, and then Ms. Bacalor will join us to review our health update. This is our closest board meeting to to Earth Day. And I just wanted to share with you, these are examples. Students all over the district are working on these activities this week. These are some Lawton Elementary students, and they wrote thank you notes to Earth and reflected on small ways that they can help save the planet, including planting seeds and saving water. I'm delighted that a little bit later in the meeting, our trustee Kelly and our committee, planning committee, will be bringing forward the proposal for the environmental task force. And I just couldn't resist showing you some environmentalists right here in the making. So a great day. Trustees, as we discussed last week, we are on the stages for in-person hybrid learning due to a rapid and continuing rise over the days prior to last Wednesday. The board, at the superintendent's recommendation, delayed 4th and 5th grade to May 3rd. So just a reminder of where we are on the reentry, 4th and 5th grade, in grades 6 through 12 on May 3rd. This was our update from last week, and we just added a few things to review. I don't think any of us, well, certainly experts predicted it, but this current surge that Michigan has been in the midst of, certainly on February 24th, when the board voted to support the reentry plan, we were in an extremely different place. And then literally Michigan went on a vertical rise. Many districts around the state have returned to full virtual. We have been fortunate in Ann Arbor that although our case levels are high, a lot of Michigan is even higher. So not that I'm, at any rate, I'm not making a judgment about that. At this time, we're not seeing a decline yet, but I will share with you, and trustees, you've reviewed the data. While the levels remain high, the case numbers appear to be leveling. So it is too early, of course, to make any big determination, but that's where we are at this time. K-12 schools continue to lead in the number of reported outbreaks in the state. And we saw last week a call from pediatricians regarding the increasing cases among children 0 to 17 years old and hospitalizations among children. We also have been keeping track each day of the case data in our schools. Ms. Bacalor will go over that in detail, so I don't need to get into that, but I want to share, trustees, and you get a report from me almost daily on this, but over the 3 weeks since spring break, we have not seen a dramatic rise in the number of cases that we're seeing each week. So that is encouraging news, at least internally. Just a quick look at that chart. When folks say they don't understand the rationale for slowing the reopening, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. There's the picture of what has occurred in Michigan over the previous month right there. Trustees, you see from me almost weekly the Michigan K-12 report, and we know this report is limited in many ways because it really is about cases that are transmitted in school, and there are a lot of stipulations around it. So when you see that report every week, you know that it is really an underreporting. Unfortunately, most unfortunately, Ann Arbor Public Schools is noted on the report this week. I want to be transparent about that. In that outbreak at Mitchell Elementary, unfortunately. You can see the numbers there of new outbreaks and ongoing outbreaks. The MDHHS outbreak data for K-12 schools only includes cases where the student or staff was infected at school. So it is a little bit different report. Here is the headline, just so folks know. There is an MDHHS report, and then just showing you where this was in the media. On the other hand, we do have steps and tools now that we did not have even a few weeks ago, or especially a few months ago. Everyone on the school team has had the opportunity to receive full vaccination, and we're hoping that perhaps some who didn't take it at first are still considering and will get the vaccination for COVID. As you can see, today I looked up to get this number updated. 27.5% in Washtenaw County have been fully vaccinated, and about 45% have one dose so far. So that is encouraging data. Certainly over these weeks, since we've reopened our schools, and even before that, we've all learned the critical importance of those fundamentals: wearing a mask and keeping the distance when outside of the home or with anyone outside the family unit. A great development is that we now have readily available testing. And trustees, we're partnering with MDHHS and with some companies to launch testing events, but I think it's worthwhile to, we get emails on this, folks can get their tests just anywhere. So certainly don't need to attend our events, but we have been working with Washtenaw County Health Department. It is the advisement that if every student and family who intends to choose in-school hybrid learning could get a COVID test, that would dramatically improve the safety of our schools. Ms. Bachelor will be sharing, we have another event coming up this weekend, really wanting to see our 4th through 12th graders at that event. Some folks have emailed to ask, what is the prescription, or what is the indication for how often students should be tested? We hear and understand that some experts recommend weekly if the student is out and attending school. Certainly, I was in conversation just recently with our executive director of the Washtenaw County Health Department, who shared if even students would get a baseline COVID assessment, that would be a tremendous help. Vaccines are now available to everyone age 16 and up. This is a huge benefit for our high schools, although we know it won't help right away our 9th and 10th graders, but we're very excited about vaccines. And I'm going to look up the physician's name, or a member of my team will shoot that to me. But I want to give a big shout out to our partners at Michigan Medicine, who launched an event for this evening. And not only for Ann Arbor Public Schools, but for all 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. And trustees, they're offering 850 vaccinations today. So just a big shout out and deep gratitude, because that will be a game changer for our high schoolers who are ready to return to school, ready to get their vaccine and consider a return to school. We are grateful that our Reimagine COVID year plan does allow the parent and the family to be in charge of whether that student returns at their transition time. That was a very important component that we placed into the plan last summer based on feedback from our parents, from our staff, from our community, that parents wanted the option to be able to remain in virtual, and that option will remain throughout the year. Trustees, these next 4 slides are ones that are very familiar to you. We do have an extensive checklist for every school, and we're working through those checklists, and when things need to be attended to, we're correcting them. Family choice, as we said, a very important component for us. I do want to point to family responsibilities on an in-person hybrid learning option. I was delighted to hear from a parent the other day of just sharing some of the funny moments of getting back into the routine of school. And I know that it's a new thing, but just a reminder to parents that screening every day, whether you place that on your phone to remind you as an alarm, or however parents choose or students choose to make that mental note, it is important to do that screening every day and to remain at home if there are any symptoms at all. Certainly, they must immediately notify the building principal and speak with a contact tracer if there are any positives. So we know those responsibilities, but just a reminder to those parents who will be transitioning more students here this spring. Students have a responsibility, and I have to share with you, trustees, when I've seen students in our schools, our students are young who are in at this time, and yet I see them really working on wearing their mask and being mindful of the safety procedures, and we're grateful for that. So where are we tonight? On April 21st. Students have returned to the school buildings. Self-contained classrooms, preschool, young fives, kinder, first, second, and third, whose families have elected to, are participating in school hybrid learning. As several of our commenters have noted, and the trustees and I talk about it often, COVID school is a challenge this spring. It's a challenge that our teachers and our students, our school teams, parents, and leaders are adapting admirably to, because there's a lot to remember when you're in school in this COVID time. We do understand the concerns that the hybrid approach presents. And we all understand that this is the balance that allows the entry of those students and families who choose the in-school learning option. So that is the balance that is in play. And we do understand, and I do hear from parents, yet we are seeing that after that transition occurs, things do settle into a rhythm. I do want to point out that we are responding as COVID cases arise in our school. We are right away into the process. We have a fully developed contact tracing process. You heard about that last week, trustees. And just a reminder that those quarantine and other decisions are in consultation with the Washtenaw County Health Department. The Washtenaw County Health Department is the public health authority. So in the Ann Arbor Public Schools, we don't quarantine anyone. We follow the consult and the direction of the Washtenaw County Health Department. We do the investigation, support the health department team, and communicate so that we can help our families to work through the process when there's a case. Next steps. Students who choose to continue the transition to in-school learning will absolutely do so. That includes all the grades that we listed just before, and then also 4th through 12th grade who are slated for May 3rd. We will continue to monitor the COVID cases daily and take the needed steps. As you will know, as you already know, trustees, we're taking those steps at a classroom or a grade or a school level. We can now use, with testing, we can use a very strategic approach. Some have likened it to a scalpel. We can really work right where we see those cases rising. And of course, if they're widespread escalation in cases, the trustees have agreed, and we would absolutely take action right away. We remember that this transition COVID year is a dial that we turn. So we absolutely would turn that back if we saw a big uprise or uptick in cases. Again, here is the plan as written, stages 1 through 4. Additional reminders, we just strongly urge COVID testing for anyone who's unvaccinated at this time. So we're asking that our students who are considering in-school learning to go ahead and drive through one of those events, or if you prefer your another provider to do that test, getting tested is a good, strong idea. We're encouraging everyone who's able to get the COVID vaccination. It certainly is important for our 16, 17, and 18-year-olds who are looking forward to end of the year school and activities. But we also know that every one of us who gets a vaccine makes a safer community for our children and for our schools and for everyone. We are shouting out to really exercise caution in our community with social engagements outside the home and family. Throughout this springtime, we know that operating a COVID safe environment in schools is everyone's job. The trustees were discussing over recent days some of the community events that are coming up, and we just really want to raise the flag to ask our community to help us prioritize schools by limiting social engagements to outdoors and certainly not indoors with members from outside your own home. We will continue to monitor the situation daily and act as we need to. So our next steps, all grade levels will have the opportunity to return for in-school hybrid learning. We know this is especially important it's important for all students to have that opportunity. We know that many families will choose to wait until fall, and we respect that. Trustees, I appreciated the request yesterday. We were able to just do a rough estimate that it looks like 4th and 5th grade parents right at this time, and it could change before May 3rd, that approximately 70% of 4th and 5th indicate that they intend to return on or around May 3rd. Now, I do want to point out, and trustees, we've talked about this before, and the pattern is definitely there, that some schools are down around perhaps 48 or 49% returning. Other schools are as high as 80% returning, but that average is of course, somewhere in the middle there. We will continue to monitor the COVID cases at schools, in the district, in our AAPS zip codes, and at the county level. And we will respond when and if cases arise. Let's turn our attention to summer and fall for a moment. We have presented, tonight will be the second presentation you're hearing and seeing, trustees, and we've shared the link and all the information in several weekly updates to our parents, but we are planning a robust Ann Arbor Public Schools summer learning program. The enrollment opportunities are open now. Our team will be showing where those are on the website and how to click in and get your child signed up. All of the areas are there on the slide represented. Trustees, I do not know of another district offering a more robust summer learning opportunity. We're especially grateful to be offering that programming for students with special education needs and on an IEP, both extended school year and those recovery services, professional services, so that our students can get those things that they need and that they'll benefit from. Elementary, middle, and high school, they are both virtual and in-school learning opportunities. And about 95% of that programming, trustees, is free at no charge to parents. We do have to charge a little bit for the Michigan virtual and A2 virtual programs because of the nature of them. But the wide majority of all of that programming is at no cost. Ms. Bacalor has posted and will continue to update a full summer enrichment programming. Again, I don't know of another district offering as much as we offer to Ann Arbor Public Schools students for summer of 2021. As we look ahead to a fall of 2021, trustees, we discussed it beginning on February 24th when you voted to support a reopening plan. We have repeated it every week since February 24th. We'll say it again this evening because we want to reassure our parents. We are planning and preparing for 5 days of in-school learning available for students. It will feature our quality Ann Arbor Public Schools teachers, staff, academic programs, world languages, performing and visual arts and sciences, early childhood through 12th grade. Spring enrollment activities continue now in progress. So folks who are worried that they don't think we're doing the work, I just want to clarify, every elementary school hosted a kindergarten roundup during March. Those events were very well attended. We are continuing our regular enrollment activities at this time, and that includes transition activities, elementary to middle, middle to high school. So parents will continue to hear more about that, as is normal during the April-May timeline. There is no hybrid instruction planned for fall of 2021, none whatsoever. There is, however, a fully virtual learning opportunity, as there has been in the past. That will continue. We do have parents who are asking about that, and students will continue to have that choice to be fully virtual or to be in person, but those two paths will not be blended into a hybrid plan. They will be a choice that families will make. We're not asking for parents to make that choice now. It's entirely too soon. We are planning for those programs, and we will be asking folks to make that indication to us a little bit later this spring. I snapped this photo outdoors earlier today as we experienced a beautiful spring snow in Ann Arbor following a warm early spring. because I felt that picture represented some of what we've been through. Is that during those months of January, February, and March, when we had hoped to see all of the things lining up for a move to hybrid learning, there have been some setbacks. One of those was a slower delay of teacher vaccines, a delay in teacher vaccines, which thankfully we're grateful to many of our elected leaders and to the trustees on this board for advocating. We got over that setback. And then over the recent month, end of February to the end of March, 1st of April, this fourth surge in Michigan, and Michigan being by far the highest rate of cases in the country, and our cases being high also in Washtenaw County. But we have overcome those obstacles, and we're using the tools that we have, and we're providing the option for our parents to make their choice. We appreciate and give a shout out to our teachers and staff who have responded. They've remained agile, and they've led our students through this time in admirable fashion. We'll be asking this question on a series of community engagements, town halls, variety of events that I'll be hosting. And this will be the question as we prepare for a full reopening of our schools on August 30th of 2021. Please share what you are most hopeful for that we should prioritize in our planning and work. Trustees, night after night, over 13 months, we have heard through email, through calls, through meetings, through public commentary, we've heard from hundreds of our stakeholders. We understand that the needs and preferences of families fall along a wide continuum. And we are working during this last phase of the school year to provide the choice that our families want and need in how they finish this school year. We feel like a spring return to hybrid will lay a foundation. A strong summer learning program will be just a great activity for our students, and I appreciate the teachers who are signing up. I know they're exhausted, but they're signing up to serve our students over this summer. I want to share clearly that in the Ann Arbor Public Schools, we have more than 100 years of history in serving as an exemplary and excellent school district. And that by many, many metrics, not just academics, but by the experience of our students, our staff, and our alumni. COVID will not change the excellence of the Ann Arbor Public Schools. We will emerge from this COVID pandemic. We will be stronger. We will be better. Throughout this time, certainly there's been great disagreement on the timing of a return. Some folks think we're months too early. Other folks believe strongly that we're months too late. Trustees, you know that better than anyone. And yet we've come a long way over this time. We will continue to engage with our community. And I'm hoping that our community will join together and point our compass toward supporting all children and opening this spring for those who choose, having a strong summer program, and then a full back to school beginning on August 30th of 2021. So with that, trustees, we do have, I do want to give a shout out, the Michigan medicine physician who gave us a shout yesterday about the 850 vaccinations, was Dr. Jason Shellhouse from Michigan Medicine. So I just wanted to give him a public shout out. I will be sending him a letter of appreciation